Somewhere in the last 2 weeks, you made yourself measurably dumber. And here's the part that should scare you a little. You didn't feel a thing. In 2003, a team of sleep scientists at the University of Pennsylvania ran an experiment that quietly rewired how neuroscientists think about the brain. They took healthy adults and cut their sleep to 6 hours a night. Not 3, not 2, 6. The amount half the people watching this got last night. After 2 weeks, those people were performing like they'd pulled 2 all-nighters in a row. Their reaction time, their focus, their judgment, wrecked. But when researchers asked them how they felt, they said they were fine, basically normal. That gap between how sharp you think you are and how sharp you actually are, that gap is where your brain quietly gets smaller. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 ordinary, boring, socially approved habits that are physically shrinking parts of your brain right now. Not bad for you in a vague way. I mean specific regions, the ones you use to focus, to remember, to make good decisions, literally losing volume. And then, near the end, I'm gonna flip this entire thing on its head, because there's one twist about who this happens to that changes everything. If you consider yourself ambitious, driven, and optimizer, stick around for that part. It's about you specifically. Everything here is built on named, peer-reviewed work. Penn, Stanford, the University of Pittsburgh, studies published in PNAS and the journal Sleep. I'll show you the receipts as we go, including where the science is solid and where it's still a maybe. Let's start with the one you're probably guilty of right now. So, what actually happened to those people sleeping 6 hours? Picture the setup. 14 nights, 3 groups, 8 hours, 6 hours, 4 hours. Every couple of hours, scientists test their attention, their working memory, their reaction speed. The 4-hour group falls apart fast. No surprise. But the 6-hour group is the gut punch. They decline slowly, steadily, night after night. And by day 14, they've stacked up a cognitive deficit equal to going 2 full nights with 0 sleep. Here's the mechanism. While you sleep, specifically in deep sleep, your brain runs a cleaning cycle. It flushes out metabolic waste that builds up all day, including a protein called beta amyloid, the same gunk that clumps up in Alzheimer's brains. Skip the sleep, skip the cleaning. The trash stays in. So it's not that 6 hours makes you tired, it's that 6 hours, repeated, keeps your brain marinating in its own waste while quietly draining your focus and memory. And the whole time, your internal "am I okay" meter reads green. That's the Penn team's real finding. It's not the deficit, it's that the deficit is invisible from the inside. Which raises an obvious question. If you can't trust your own sense of being sharp, how many other everyday habits are lying to you the same way? At least one of them is probably happening on the device in your hand right now. What is constantly switching between tabs, texts, and tasks actually doing to the machinery underneath? In 2009, researchers at Stanford went looking for the superpower. They assumed the people who juggle 5 streams of media at once, texting while emailing, while watching something, while scrolling, must have elite mental filtering, trained up brains. So they tested the heavy multitaskers against the light ones. And the result embarrassed everyone's assumptions. The heavy multitaskers were worse. Worse at ignoring irrelevant information. Worse at filtering. Worse at switching between tasks. The one thing they did constantly. They'd trained themselves to be terrible at exactly the skill they thought they were mastering. Then, a second study out of the University of Sussex in 2014 put heavy media multitaskers in a brain scanner. The people who juggled the most media had less gray matter in a region called the anterior cingulate cortex, a hub for focus and emotional control. Now, I have to be straight with you here, because this is where a lot of channels overreach. That scan study is correlational. It shows a link, not a cause. It's genuinely possible people with smaller ACCs are simply drawn to more multitasking, rather than multitasking shrinking the ACC. The researchers said so themselves. So hold this one a little looser than the sleep data. But paired with the Stanford performance results, the pattern is hard to ignore. The takeaway isn't phones bad. It's that the state of constant switching is the damage. Every flick between tasks is a tiny reset your brain pays for in focus. You're not doing 5 things. You're doing one thing badly 5 times a second. But there's a habit that does something even sneakier. It doesn't scatter your attention. It slowly corrodes the part of your brain you use to remember your own life. What does living in low-grade, always-on stress physically do to memory? In 1998, a landmark study led by neuroscientist Sonia Lupien tracked people's stress hormone, cortisol, over years, and then scanned their brains. The high cortisol group had a visibly smaller hippocampus. That's the brain's memory center, the seahorse-shaped structure that files new experiences into long-term storage. Short bursts of cortisol are fine, helpful even. It's chronic elevation that's toxic. Marinate the hippocampus in stress hormones for months and years, and it starts suppressing the birth of new neurons and physically atrophying. That's why chronically stressed people so often feel foggy, forgetful, like their memory isn't what it used to be. It isn't. There's a structural reason. And the trap is the same one from minute 1 of this video. Chronic stress becomes your baseline. You stop noticing it. It just feels like life now. Which means, like the sleep deficit, it's doing structural work while flying completely under your awareness. But hold on to this Lupien detail, because it's going to matter enormously in a minute. When the chronic stress lifts, cortisol drops, and the hippocampus can grow back. File that away. First, the 4th habit. And it's the most invisible of all, because it's not something you do, it's something you don't. Can doing nothing, sitting most of the day, actually shrink your brain? Here's the flip side, and it's the most hopeful study in this whole video. In 2011, researchers at the University of Pittsburgh took 120 older adults whose brains were already shrinking with age and split them into 2 groups. One group did moderate aerobic exercise, walking, just walking a few times a week for a year. The other group only stretched. After a year, the stretching group's hippocampus kept shrinking, normal aging. But the walking group, their hippocampus grew about 2%, enough to effectively reverse 1 to 2 years of brain aging. The engine behind it is a molecule called BDNF. Think of it as fertilizer for brain cells, and exercise cranks it up. So flip that around. If walking grows the memory center, then a sedentary life is quietly withholding the one thing that keeps it from shrinking. You're not just not exercising, you're switching off your brain's built-in regrowth system. Okay, sleep, multitasking, stress, sitting still. 4 habits, 4 regions taking damage. It would be easy to end the video right here with, so sleep more, move more, chillact. But that would be a lie, because I've been hiding the most important part, and it completely changes who should be worried. The title of this video says these habits are killing your IQ. That was bait. Because here's the truth. Your IQ score, that number, barely moves. And that is exactly the problem. Your sense of being smart is one of the last things to go. You keep feeling capable. You keep feeling on top of it. Meanwhile, the physical hardware, the gray matter, the hippocampus, the focus circuits, is quietly losing ground underneath a completely intact sense of, I'm fine. Remember the very first study? people running on 6 hours swore they felt normal, while performing like they hadn't slept in 2 days. That's not a sleep fact. That's the whole video. The damage and the awareness of the damage live in 2 different places in your brain, and they don't talk to each other. Now here's the part I promised the ambitious people. Ask yourself, who is most likely to run on 6 hours of sleep, live in 5 browser tabs, carry chronic background stress, and sit at a desk for 12 hours? It's not the lazy person. It's the driven one, the optimizer, the person who's proud of the grind. The exact viewer most convinced they're too sharp for any of this to apply to them is running all 5 risk factors at maximum. And their self-confidence is the thing hiding the cost. The trap isn't for people who don't care about their minds. It's baited specifically for the people who care most. But this is a brain video, so here's the twist inside the twist, and it's genuinely good news. Every structure we talked about is plastic. Remember the Pittsburgh study? A shrinking hippocampus grew back with nothing but walking. Remember Lupien's stress research? When the stress lifted, the hippocampus recovered. The same organ these habits shrink is the organ built more than any other in your body to rebuild itself. If you do nothing else from this video, do this one thing tonight. Guard the 7th hour of sleep. Not 8, not some perfect routine, just refuse to let your sleep drop to 6. That single boundary is the highest leverage move on this entire list, because it's the one running the "you can't feel the damage" trick hardest. And if you want a second one, pick a single task tomorrow morning and do only that for 15 minutes. No second tab, just to remind your brain what undivided attention even feels like. Most people can't remember. Because here's what nobody tells you. Rebuilding your focus isn't really a willpower problem. It's a chemistry problem. Your attention is being pulled apart by a specific brain chemical that these apps are engineered to hijack. And until you understand how that one molecule works, no amount of just focus harder is going to save you. So watch this next. I break down the exact chemical rewiring the algorithm is doing to your brain and the 3-step way to take that circuitry back. It's the other half of this story, and it starts right here.